Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Step into the shadows with Haunted Moonlight, your ultimate guide to all things spooky and supernatural. From spine-chilling horror movies and books to the world's most haunted places, cryptids, UFOs, and so much more, we explore it all. Join us each week for thrilling tales and eerie adventures. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram to stay updated on our latest episodes. Let Haunted Moonlight be your beacon in the dark, illuminating the mysteries that lurk just beyond the edge of every day.
What if I told you that right now, millions of people are living with a debilitating condition that's so misunderstood, many of them don't even know that they have it. That condition is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. I'm Dr. Patrick McGrath, the Chief Clinical Officer of NoCD. And in the 25 years I've been treating OCD, I've met so many people who are suffering from the condition in silence, unaware of just what it was. OCD can create overwhelming anxiety and fear around what you value most, make you question your identity, beliefs, and morals, and drive you to perform mentally and physically draining compulsions or rituals. Over my career, I've seen just how devastating OCD can be when it's left untreated. But help is available. That's where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for obsessive compulsive disorder. Our licensed therapists are trained in exposure and response prevention therapy, a specialized treatment proven to be incredibly effective for OCD. So visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call with our team. That's nocd.com.
I don't know about you, but the number one thing I look forward to when I return from traveling is a good night's sleep in my own bed. That has never been more true than it is now that I have a Sleep Number smart bed. I get so sore after traveling on planes, but after literally one night in my Sleep Number smart bed, my body feels restored, rested, and relaxed. The fact that my bed actually listens to my body and adjusts to my needs to keep me sleeping soundly all the way through the night is worth it alone. Not to mention, my husband and I never need to argue over firmness because we can each dial in our own Sleep Number setting. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now, for a limited time, Sleep Number smart beds start at $849. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
No matter how you travel, it's good to have a plan. Some people plan every minute. No sleep, bus, museum, another museum. While others only plan to take it day by day. When it comes to your finances, a plan is just as important. You can count on Credit Karma to give you the insights you need to understand your options so you can take charge of your financial path and find your way to money. Explore how you can make financial progress with confidence today. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
Starting a podcast is one of the hardest things ever. And it's so funny because so many podcasts that I listen to with like multiple hosts and like a little sillier, not like super serious podcasts, they always start with like a random song and they sing songs. And I don't know why that's like the urge to just immediately just be like, I'm blue, da ba dee da ba da.
Well, I also feel 1,000 years old because that song is now in the charts again. Because, yeah, there are a few songs from like when we were teens, children that are now just back in the charts. Like, what did I hear? I think it's Rita Ora has done like a remix of Praise You by Fatboy Slim, you know?
Oh my
I have
goodness.
to praise you. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, like the song started and I was like, this sounds good. And then was just in the car and then the chorus kicked in and I was like, really? Are we there yet? We're remixing Praise You.
God.
So
That's like how when we were kids, bell bottoms came back in, but then they started calling them flared.
Yeah.
Flared jeans. And now they're back in again. I don't even know what they call them now, but I'm just like, it's too soon? Like, this shouldn't be back yet? Like, we just got skinny jeans, even though skinny jeans have now been around for like 15 years.
The children are calling yoga pants flared leggings.
That's interesting.
I do agree with that. Gen Z is the Columbus generation. They think they're discovering everything.
Yeah, right.
It's so sweet. I'm just like, oh, honey.
Basically. We had the weird, ironic, sparkly shirts that said princess on them.
Did you have Tammy Girl?
No.
It was a retail chain that was just aimed at girls aged, say, like 9 to 14.
Okay.
And they used to have a lot of those shirts. And it was all like the flared jeans with sparkly butterflies on the pockets and like fluffy fleeces and all of that. Like, it was very wholesome when you look back.
Yeah.
And then because I was a fat kid, they had a lot of crop tops that I couldn't wear.
Oh,
So I have a combined like love and trauma to do with Tammy Girl, but apparently it's coming back. So
oh wow.
yeah.
Like, when I think of the fact that we were all trying to fit our bodies into low-rise jeans.
Oh God. Yeah.
I'm like, you have to have a very specific body type to fit those. And most people don't fall into that category. And yet that's all they made.
Yeah. Especially if you're like me and you're built like a guinea pig. So like you're just round in the middle. You have no ass. The low-rise jeans just really are not your friend.
Yeah, they just fall off.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Fall off. Complete, like, constant builder's arse. You know, when you can see the crack in your ass.
We call it plumber's crack here.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
We call it builder's bummer, builder's arse.
My friends started joking because that happened to me all the time where, like, my crack would be, like, hanging out, probably because I was thick and not made to wear those jeans.
Yeah.
And they started joking that, like, a gnome was going to climb out of, like, my butt crack. They're like, oh, Emily's butt crack gnome.
Is it in... Oh my God. What do you call that Kevin Smith thing where, like, the girl has the... Is it a gnome that lives in her underwear? Pillow pants?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Clerks, I think. It's either Clerks 1 or Clerks 2, and he's talking about, like, his girlfriend, and I think she's a virgin, but, like, she has a gnome that lives in her underwear called Pillow Pants. Like, out of context, this just sounds absolutely insane, but... So, yeah, you had your own Pillow Pants.
Basically, yeah. It's just, I don't know. The clothing was traumatic. Also because, like I said, there was like the bedazzled shirts that would say like princess or like angel or whatever on it.
Yeah, or sexy randomly. Like, sexy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, buy this for your 12-year-old.
Yeah. You know what's really funny is I had a shirt. It said like, look somewhere else, I'm out of your league or something like that. And when I wanted it, and when I was like 11 or 12, which is very strange. But when I got it, I was like into like baseball and softball. Like a baseball league.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought it was. And I had a teacher who like joked about my shirt. I was confused. And then as I got older, I was like, oh.
That's so cute that you didn't know.
It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting looking back at being like, I was 11 wearing a shirt that said I'm out of your league. And I was not like a cute child.
Oh, who of us were, though? Who of us were? And that's why, like, the rule of thumb used to be that fashion comes back every 7 years. Like, I remember hearing that. And it was like, if you looked back, it was kind of true. Like, trends were all cyclical. And now you have micro trends. Whereas, like, something from last summer is completely out of style now.
Yeah. Don't follow the
ridiculous.
micro trends, people.
No, it's so wasteful and stressful and expensive.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, it's from an interior design podcast, and I think they quoted it from an interior designer. Figure out what you like and what's true for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, you know, how you decorate your house, how you dress, it won't go out of style. If you're following trends, that's going to go out of style.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing something as big as your house, you don't want to have, you know, like cabinets that are very obviously from 2008 because it was in style at that moment.
Yeah. And there's so many, like, how many times do you see somebody who has bought like some sort of period home and they're ripping up the carpets and there's like beautiful tile underneath or hardwood
Like
floors.
hardwood floors.
And you're like,
Yeah.
how did anybody think that that was like out of style? That's constant, you know?
Right.
I think my phone just vibrated.
Yeah. It's David texting us.
Damn it, David.
I know, I'm like, I thought I turned my do not disturb on, but like I'm getting WhatsApp notifications.
Yeah, I'm going to turn on my do not disturb. I'm leaving that in so he can know that he disturbed the recording. Anyway, we are 12 minutes in.
Quite a ways into this. Welcome to Rowan and Pine. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nave. And I forgot we were recording, to be honest.
I did too. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, right. We should like get on with the story.
Yeah. You're welcome back for episode 2 of season 3. I really loved episode 1. I thought it came out well, even though we did ramble for like the longest we've ever rambled. But I promise I'll cut out most of our rambling today. Don't get used to us doing like full life updates. That was because we hadn't been on for a while. There is
Although I do want to say it's so funny because Neve recorded our recording the last time, and she sent me a video clip. She's like, "Oh, look at us! Like, here's the video recording," and I was like, "I look awful." And
she didn't. She's going through a lot, people.
Yeah, there's a lot happening, so be nice to me in my Quasimodo face.
Oh my god, if anybody had said anything about your appearance, and which, first of all, there's nothing wrong with her appearance, but she is entitled to feel the way she feels. But if anybody had said anything, I would actually have found them and fought them. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Did you birth a child?
Yeah, so I'm trying to be nice to myself, but that relates to what I'm talking about today.
Oh, segue.
Because this episode is about midwifery and witches.
I'm so excited for this one.
Do you say midwifery?
No, I say midwifery.
Yeah, I was listening to an audiobook and this particular person kept saying midwifery, and I've only ever heard it midwifery, and I was a little confused.
I'm trying to think. My cousin is a midwife, and I'm pretty sure she would say midwifery. This one has been brewing for a while, I feel like.
Yeah.
Was this originally going to be episode 1, I think, of this? And then we're like, this needs more time.
Yeah, I just needed more time to go through because I had like multiple like audiobooks that I wanted to listen to. There was just a lot that I wanted to get through so that I could do this episode and make it good, which hopefully it is. I was reading through like all my research last night and I was like, oh no, it's not good enough. And then I'm like, I just chill. Just calm down. You've had worse research, I think.
We're just such nerds that we're just like, we have to hit the word count, even though we don't have a word count.
Yeah. So midwifery has been heavy on my mind. I have birthed 2 children in 2 years. And when I think about that, I'm like, that's actually, like, lock me up, put me in a straitjacket. I feel like that's insane.
The hormones alone, Emily. Like, the hormones alone.
I know.
That's crazy.
And the craziest part is that we chose to do this. We chose to have them this close together because we did IVF. It was a very intense process to have a second child.
I remember when you told me that you were going through the process to have your second and you were just like, I don't know, am I nuts? And I was like, only you know that, Emily. Only you know if you can handle it. I cannot answer this for you. You're asking me, somebody who has 0 children.
Verdict, yes, I'm crazy. But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
We made the choice we made.
Yeah. And hindsight is one thing. Like, you only know what you know at the time, you know? So
right.
How many you knows was that?
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
When you know, you know. So let's get into it. Tell me about midwifery.
Okay, so I wanted to start out a quote. A book that I read was called Witches, Midwives, and Nurses by Barbara Ehrenreich. For centuries, women were doctors without degrees, barred from books and lectures, learning from each other and passing on experience from neighbor to neighbor and mother to daughter. They were called wise women by the people, witches or charlatans by the authorities.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it kind of just sets up this whole episode because I wanted to focus on how midwifery was seen as witchcraft and how there were women who were midwives, tried as witches, and killed for being witches because they helped people, and I just think that's absolutely insane.
Yeah. It's all coming back to the discomfort of, obviously a lot of women would have intimate knowledge of childbirth and midwifery and what happens to your body and how to take care of babies. So I would wager that the persecution of that comes from the discomfort of men, because women have knowledge that they don't have, and they don't like that. They don't like women knowing things and knowing more than them.
And it's so weird because having been somebody who went through pregnancy now, I had a couple losses, so I have been pregnant multiple times, but I have 2 live children, and those pregnancies, you know, they went full to term, had those babies. And after the first one, I was just like, oh my God, there's so many things I would have done differently when I went to have my daughter, like at the hospital. And then after the second one, I felt a lot more confident in the choices that I made and things that I said to the doctors. But I still feel like, okay, I could have also done this differently. I feel like when you're somebody who's gone through it, and maybe it's just me, but it's like all of a sudden I want to advocate for other people who've gone through it or are going through it or doing it the first time. And I feel like back in the day, like I probably would have been a midwife. I would have been like, I got you, girl. Like, you're going to get through this. It will all be okay. You know, it just makes me really mad that, again, they were called witches and that men were like, step aside, ladies. We got this.
Yeah.
When women were involved in helping other women have babies, it was mostly done at home and men were nowhere to be found. As men began becoming involved, childbirth.
She just said that like a 6-year-old.
It's
going to be some childbirth.
Childbirth moved into hospitals, and when the forceps were invented around the 1600s, men began dominating the practice while women disappeared. It was illegal for women to use these tools, which caused the men to believe that they were superior to women. Of course.
Who made it illegal? Have you seen that thing? It's like, who set that system up? Like the guy is like, more men die in wars and all this. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And then a woman's like, and who set that system up? You men are the people who decided that men should go to war.
That is a very good point. You all hate each other and you hate us too. So blame yourselves.
Also, just before we get into it, just in case we forget to say it, this is a trans inclusionary podcast. When we talk about women, we're using the term women, but we mean people who have the ability to give birth, get pregnant, give birth, have children.
This is from more of a historical perspective where it was trans people have existed all of time.
Mm-hmm.
But from the history and stuff like that, it is divided into men and women.
Yes.
Penis having people, birthing people.
Yeah.
Women's intuition in medicine was believed to be more superstitious and labeled as old wives' tales. The problem with this was that men did not fully understand the pain they were inflicting and that the tools being used were inhumane. Some of this continues to this day, unfortunately. There are still more male doctors than women, and nursing, generally viewed as the helper job, is still mostly full of women. Most mothers who give birth to their children in hospitals will deliver the baby while laying on their back. This method became popular as birthing moved into hospitals, and doctors who, again, mostly men, wanted women to be in a more convenient position. Not for the ones birthing the child, but for the doctors.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did you come across that story? I don't know if it's verified that there was the king?
A king. Yeah, it's fake.
Is it fake? Okay. I was wondering about that.
It was just kind of like physicians who are like, let's put you in a good position so I can deliver this baby.
Yeah. Okay. Just because we did not explain that, it's like an internet thing or an internet rumor that the reason why so many women give birth on their back when it's medically not better is because people said that there was a king who had a weird fetish who liked to watch women give birth. That was why.
I think it was like a Huffington Post article, and it's not real.
Yeah,
fake news.
Fake news. Actual fake news.
Yeah, but like you said, is so like what's more irritating about physicians having women on their backs is that there is a fair amount of evidence that shows that laying on your back can cause prolonged labor and increase the risk of perineal tearing.
Of course.
Because if you think of being on your back and the baby's weight pushing down as it comes out,
Right, yeah.
it's going to rip, which I had my 3rd degree tear, which was actually awful.
I just crossed my legs involuntarily.
But I feel like you brought this up in a previous episode, but I'm not remembering when it was. The original chainsaw was invented to cut the pubic bone if a baby was stuck in the birth canal. And the chainsaws weren't automatic like the chainsaws that we think of today. They were hand crank chainsaws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then the forceps were also invented around 1600 as a way to pull the baby out. This was painful for birthing mothers because it would cause increased risk of perineal lacerations, pelvic organ prolapse, and incontinence, increased risk of injury to the vagina.
The vagina?
The vagina. Increased risk of injury to the vagina and cervix, and increased postnatal recovery time and pain, which sounds like a lot of what I went through.
Jesus Christ.
Men, and especially powerful men, did not like women who practiced midwifery or folk healing because they believed it undermined the church and physicians. It was a political and class struggle for women as healers. Women often served the low-class members of society, while men served the wealthy, clergy, and the ruling class. It is found that most of the women who were executed as witches were Christian or had some faith in God, whether they identified as Catholic, Protestant, etc. So, it's pretty depressing that even though they believed in God, it was kind of like, well, you're working for the devil, so we're going to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
But physicians and the Catholic Church benefited from harming midwives. For the Catholic Church, they wanted midwives to be punished and out of work because if the midwives and healers were able to help the sick and the poor, these folks would not seek refuge from the church.
Like the money-making bastards?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm mad now.
When midwives and healers were not allowed to practice their medicine, the sick would come to the church seeking help, but would be offered prayers, and the church would try to gain new members. But the church did not interfere with the wealthy and royalty to seek healers and midwives because the church could not offer the wealthy food and shelter in exchange for devotion to the church.
Oh my God. The classism, it just runs so deep.
Here we are again. On Sundays after Mass, the sick came in scores crying for help, and words were all they got. Quote, "You have sinned, and God is afflicting you. Thank him. You will suffer so much less the torment in the life to come. Endure, suffer, die. Has not the church its prayers for the dead?" This quote is from Jules Michelet, the book Satanism and Witchcraft.
This is just reminding me of, I will have forever beef with Mother Teresa because she's a terrible person.
I was going to say, I've heard that she's a terrible person, actually, but I've never found out exactly why.
Well, like one of the things that she is accused of is that the people in her care, she prolonged their suffering and made it worse for them and told them at the time that it would make it easier for them to get into heaven and that, you know, their suffering would be beneficial to them in the next life. So that quote that you just said is very similar to that.
What I don't understand is why do you get to decide that for somebody else? If you're suffering and you want to suffer and have all these, I don't even know the word.
Oh,
like if,
but the best thing about her is when she got sick in her old age, she received the best of care.
Of course. She can go fuck herself. The church believed that the devil was working through peasant women here on earth. Because of this, they believed that the attack on healing women was an attack on magic and the devil, instead of what it actually was, which was an attack on the women and the medicine they practiced.
Mm-hmm.
If women were powerful healers, then they were less likely to depend on the church, which made them a threat to the church. They believed that if a healer were able to cure someone, that it went against God's will, making it an act of the devil and therefore evil. They also believed that God would only work through priests and doctors, not peasant women.
Not women, especially not poor women.
Right. So many of the herbal remedies witches have used over hundreds of years are still present in pharmaceuticals today, which you and I have touched on in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When women were having labor pains, they used ergot to help relieve the pain, but the church didn't like this because they believed that labor pains were something women were destined to suffer through because of Eve's original sin.
Kill me now.
I know. It's just like, can we just be nice? Why does it have to be? And this is why I have an issue with the church. Organized religion is when you're trying to tell somebody, like, again, back to like the Mother Teresa thing. It's like, if you want to suffer, if you're a woman who is having a baby and you're like, I must suffer for Eve's original sin. Yeah, okay, go for it. Make that choice for yourself, but don't make that choice for somebody else.
When something is so intangible that you can just shape it to back up your own narrative. I am closer to God than you, and God said this. Where's your proof? Oh no, he said it. I just know because I'm closer to God than you are.
Yeah, he said it.
Fuck yourself.
In my head.
Yeah, he told me. He told me last night on the phone. You don't know.
The witch healer's methods were as great a threat to the Catholic Church, if not the Protestant, as her results. For the witch was an empiricist. She relied on her senses rather than on faith or doctrine. She believed in trial and error, cause and effect. Her attitude was not religiously passive, but actively inquiring. She trusted her ability to find ways to deal with disease, pregnancy, and childbirth, whether through medications or charms. In short, her magic was the science of her time. That's a quote from my girl Barbara. Because this like book zine thing was like super good. It had so much good information in it.
Do you pay for it, or is it free, or like how does it work?
There's actually a podcast out there that like reads the whole thing.
Cool.
There's an audiobook. You can buy it. It's pretty available.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll have it linked in the description for anybody who wants to go and check it out for themselves.
For physicians, midwives created competition. In London in 1600, there were 50 physicians affiliated with the College of Physicians, and they were outnumbered by around 250 unlicensed practitioners, not including surgeons, apothecaries, midwives, and nurses, who made a living.
Oh my God, my kingdom to just go into an apothecary back in like 1600. Can you imagine? Like just
That'd
how cool
really
it would
cool.
be.
Yeah.
There's a scene in, I know you would not have watched the show Outlander.
No.
So there's like time travel. Do not watch it. I watched the show and then the show annoyed me, and then I heard the books were better and I read the books and they were worse. So
no.
no, it's just very, very, very heavy on sexual assault. Like,
Yikes.
you can count on one hand the number of characters that are not sexually assaulted in that story. But anyway, in the second book, yes, because I got more than one book in. In the second book, Claire is the main character, but she is living in Paris in, is it the 1600s? I think it is, yeah, because it's like, I don't care if I'm wrong. The books are trash. But she befriends like a perfume maker, and it's like a perfumery and like apothecary, and it's just, oh my God, the set design on that show is the best thing about it. It just looks so beautiful. And like she goes in and it's all like built in, like, you know, like apothecary, like the little drawers and the jars and all of that. So every time I see apothecary, I'm just like, oh, beautiful. I would love to buy a huge apothecary table thing.
I want my kitchen to be like that. Just like, oh, here's like the basil in this little drawer.
Yeah. Someday I'll get a herb drying rack for my kitchen. Someday. Or make one.
Yeah. Well, now you're going to have your giant garden, so you're going to have to.
Yes. Oh, polytunnel update. We have started the seedlings.
Yay! That's
the
so
seedlings
exciting.
have started. Yeah, I've already got some onion shoots going. Yeah, loads of other things, and I have my herbs started too. My friend Helena, who is a friend of the podcast, she is the woman to ask about anything. She is the Rock Ballymac on Instagram. I will link her in our description if you need to know anything, especially if you're in Ireland. If you need to know anything about gardening or polytunnels, growing vegetables, herbs, or anything like that. But she gave me so much advice, and she was like, you don't need to put your herbs in a polytunnel. So I've started them off, and they're going to be in a giant pot outside my back door, so I can go and snip them when I need to make something, when I'm cooking and all of that. So
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah.
That reminds me that I need to start like some seeds, because all of a sudden it's March and
I know it's insane, because I was like, oh yeah, February, and then it was like midway through February. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I need to start.
Yeah.
So it was a few things that I had to start in February. So yeah,
Right. Gotta get going.
mm-hmm.
But I'm here for your polytunnel updates.
Yes,
It should be a regular segment. We should just have like a gardening segment on this show.
yeah. Watching like September would be like, we got rabbits. We've had rabbits attack the polytunnel. So there's so many rabbits here.
Left.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I tried to plant blueberry plants, like bushes in our yard a few years ago, and then like all the blueberries that were on it just like fell off and never grew back.
Oh.
And I was like, what's going on with this? And then I'm so dumb. I think it's just because I've been distracted the last couple years. But all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna try to figure out like what's going wrong with these blueberry bushes. And I guess they need super acidic soil.
Oh.
Like they have very specific needs, and they say it's a lot easier to plant them in like big buckets or something. So I'm probably going to do that this year.
Yeah.
Blueberry
and then you
buckets.
can move them around too.
Right. They can find the
Cool.
sun a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try that again, and I'm going to actually put effort in.
But it's cool. Like berries are such a good, like my maternal grandmother, she died when I was 6. So only 2 things I remember about her really are that she loved Murder, She Wrote. That was like her stories.
Cute.
And I have this memory of going up. There was like a wild blackberry bush was it blackberry? It was black currants, which I don't think really are a thing in America.
Not really, no.
So yeah, black currants are like anything that's purple flavored here that in America would be grape flavored. Here it's blackcurrant flavor.
Oh, wow. Purple flavor.
Purple flavor. Purple is a fruit. One of my other memory of her is her bringing me to a blackcurrant bush in our back garden. It was growing wild. I don't think anybody had planted it, and helping her pick them so that she could make jam. So she made like the best jams, and that's one of my 2 memories of my grandmother.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
With my grandma, I also, because they lived on like a large piece of land, and like they had just like this huge like woods around their house. And I went out with my grandma picking berries, and then she made jam. And it's like one of my favorite memories is just going out and finding all these wild berries with her.
Yeah, and it's something that a kid can actually get involved in, you know?
Right. Just magical grandma things.
Yeah. Pretty hard to mess up, huh?
Yeah.
Picking berries.
But that's what I want. That's what I want for my kids. I want them to have like a garden and remember, you know, I just went outside and grabbed blueberries. I just went outside and got a cucumber. Stuff like that. I just think that's... the 3 main offenses that come up repeatedly in the accusations of witchcraft are female sexuality. They're blamed for enticing men and making men feel sexual desire. Secondly, accused of being organized. And thirdly, they were accused of having magical powers that affect health. This is associated not only with being able to harm another, but also being able to heal someone else. They had the ability to heal, but they could use that to harm people, and therefore they are evil.
Yeah, because, well, as we all know, a lot of healing probably can feel like harm. It's why I struggle a lot with bringing my cats to the vet, you know?
Right.
Because you can't tell them that this is for your own good.
Yeah.
And it's the difficult thing when, like, you're responsible for another being. I'm sure you have that with your kids.
Yes.
Especially like a vaccination or something like that, where you're just like, this is going to suck, and it might suck for the next couple of days.
Right.
But believe me, it's for your own good, you know?
Yeah. Or when I think it's when they're a year old, they test, like, they do a blood test on your kids. So they do like a finger prick to get the blood. And I don't even like the finger pricks. I think those things suck. I like IVs, all that stuff is fine. I don't really mind it. Finger pricks, I hate them. I don't know if it's do you guys have where it's like a little like machine that pricks your finger? Not a machine, but it's like a little device and it goes like click. And
I've seen them. I've seen people do it for diabetes. Where they have to test their blood. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because it's like it's like click and it's like a spring-loaded needle. There's something about
violent or something.
Yeah, and like anticipating it, I'm like, oh god, here it comes.
Yeah, and it's like you have more nerve endings in your fingers.
Yeah,
as well. And also like like from when we were kids that like hopefully nobody's still using them, but the piercing guns.
Yeah,
like those are so much worse than like just getting your ears pierced by somebody who's trained.
So, the church taught that a man's sperm contained a small, fully formed human, and that the woman, pregnant with the child, was basically just the oven, and that none of her DNA went into the child. Because of this, it was believed that a baby was not safe until it was baptized by a man, ensuring the child's salvation.
Oh, fuck off. So, even creating life, they had to take that away.
Yeah.
They were like, even no, give the women credit.
You're not special. You're just growing this thing.
It's my bun, it's your oven.
No matter how you travel, it's good to have a plan. Some people plan every minute. No sleep, bus, museum, another museum. While others only plan to take it day by day. When it comes to your finances, a plan is just as important. You can count on Credit Karma to give you the insights you need to understand your options so you can take charge of your financial path and find your way to money. Explore how you can make financial progress with confidence today. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
What if I told you that right now, millions of people are living with a debilitating condition that's so misunderstood, many of them don't even know that they have it? That condition is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. I'm Dr. Patrick McGrath, the Chief Clinical Officer of NoCD. And in the 25 years I've been treating OCD, I've met so many people who are suffering from the condition in silence, unaware of just what it was. OCD can create overwhelming anxiety and fear around what you value most, make you question your identity, beliefs, and morals, and drive you to perform mentally and physically draining compulsions or rituals. Over my career, I've seen just how devastating OCD can be when it's left untreated. But help is available. That's where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for obsessive compulsive disorder. Our licensed therapists are trained in exposure and response prevention therapy, a specialized treatment proven to be incredibly effective for OCD. So visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call with our team. That's nocd.com.
I have a quote here. We reckon all good witches, which do no hurt but good, which do not spoil and destroy, but save and deliver. It were 1,000 times better for the land if all witches, but especially the blessing witch, might suffer death. This is a quote from a leading English witch hunter. It didn't say what their name was. So even being seen as a good witch by using powers to heal others was seen as evil and punishable by death. The church believed that using the 5 senses meant you were being controlled by the devil, as the devil was in control of the senses. And a lot of healers worked with their senses and intuition with trial and error.
So what are you supposed to do? Just close your eyes and go, like, the devil can make me see and smell your infection.
God forbid you say, like, wow, that pastry smells really good. They throw acid in your face.
Oh my God, like, they're so allergic to joy. Like, just enjoy stuff.
Seriously.
It's not that bad.
Right. Yeah.
Have an orgasm. Eat some chocolate.
I was gonna say, or just, like, enjoy, like, a hot cross bun.
Yeah, they're great.
I've never had one, but...
Oh, they're so nice.
It feels very old-timey.
They just, that really nice smell of fresh croissants? Like the buttery smell? That's what they smell like. They're so good.
You're supposed to say croissant.
Croissant. And then Ewan just comes downstairs and tells me to shut up. So it triggers him somehow.
I back him up. I'm like, yeah, tell her to shut up. In the 13th century, medical schools began showing up in universities. Only men were learning to practice medicine, and even then, the church was imposing strict rules on practicing medicine. For example, even when the doctors had been trained at the university, they were not allowed to practice without a priest present to advise them.
Fuck off. What does he know? Father Pat. Oh yeah, she's losing the baby, the cord's wrapped around his neck. What do you think, Father Pat? Haven't a clue.
Yeah. Father Pat goes, this is because of Eve.
Yeah. This is because she didn't bless herself before she left church the other day.
Yeah, she didn't tithe enough. This is, yeah, all of this research and this is just like an upsetting episode.
My eyes are getting sore from rolling so much.
I think they're getting stuck. Oh
Can't
no,
see anymore. I've gone blind. At least the devil won't come for me.
You've lost one of your senses. According to the Malleus Maleficarum, our favorite book, if a woman dare to cure without having studied, she is a witch and must die. Which meant that women were all sent to their deaths for attempting to heal others because women were barred from learning medicine in a professional setting. Female healers had been discredited for so long that in the 17th and 18th century, men began to invade the practice of midwifery.
Invade is such a good word there, because that's exactly what it fucking was.
Bitches. Quote, non-professional male practitioners, aka barber surgeons, led the assault on England, claiming technical superiority on the basis of their use of the obstetrical forceps. The forceps were legally classified as a surgical instrument, and women were legally barred from surgical practice.
You know the whole, like, barbers as surgeon things? Like, that's so funny to me now, because barbers, where I am from, are usually 22-year-old men who, like...
drink craft beer and have, like, a sick
Because there's
mustache.
a barber college quite close to us, so it's just like, I don't want to go into a trade and I don't want to go to college, so I might become a barber. Imagine that guy, like... Kieran from the barbers up the road delivering your child.
Yeah, he's like, no, I got this. Step back, everybody. All you people who have real knowledge.
I'll do your husband a deal on beard oil after.
Do you need a pubic shave? While I'm down here. Let's trim this up.
Would you like a mohawk?
Oh no.
Little landing strip down there.
I was gonna say the landing strip.
You don't even have to make 2 appointments. You just get it all done in one go. It's great.
Jesus. They shave your legs too. Because Lord knows you haven't been doing it with your fat pregnant belly. Although way back in the day they didn't shave their legs yet. So maybe they're the ones who started it. Maybe it wasn't the ad companies.
It was the barbers that were down near
barbers.
women's crotches. Going, do you know what would look better?
I will
just tidy her up.
Pesky thigh hairs for you.
Yeah.
Because of the barber surgeons, the practice moved away from something women did to help each other within their communities into a lucrative business run by physicians in the 18th century. Female midwives in England tried to rise up against the male physicians who took over, trying to charge them with dangerous misuse of the forceps, but it was too late. The women were dismissed and called old wives who clung to superstitions of the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please stop putting a metal device around the newborn's head. No, you're an old wife. Get with the times.
You have superstitions. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because forceps cause a lot of damage.
Jesus Christ.
Which, surprisingly, they still use them.
Yeah.
When I was having my daughter, because she was like a vacuum assist baby, because she got stuck, they were talking about whether they were going to try forceps or a vacuum.
My God.
And both were bad. Both are bad.
It's so barbaric, but it also just brings home how traumatic and violent, like, childbirth actually is. Like, it's just, like, it's blood and it's, like, there's risk. There's so much risk built into it that, like, you literally have to bring out, like, what looks like a weapon, you know?
Yeah. Some of the most harmful witch hunts were associated with great social upheaval. These were times when the peasant class tried to rise up against the beginnings of capitalism and the rise of Protestantism. There is some evidence that witchcraft represented a female-led peasant rebellion.
This sounds exactly right up my alley. Will you go against capitalism and the Protestants?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
It feels like we're still fighting all of this today, but,
Yep.
Here in 1920s America.
Oh, yeah. It's the roaring 20s. Everybody still wants to throw themselves off a building.
In the early 20th century, states in the United States began implementing tough licensing laws when it came to practicing medicine. This meant that trained, mostly male, physicians were able to monopolize the practice of medicine. This was helpful in getting rid of midwives. In 1910, about 50% of babies were delivered by midwives, most of them being working-class immigrants or Black women. Obstetricians said that they were getting rid of midwives because the physicians claimed that the midwives were very dirty and incompetent, which was causing mothers and babies to suffer and die during or after the birthing process. Midwives were being held accountable specifically for the common uterine infections, as well as infant blindness caused by parental infection with gonorrhea. Both of these conditions were easily prevented by washing hands and administering eye drops. The problem is that this could have easily been taught if the midwifery were allowed to be its own profession, as it was in Germany, England, and many other European countries. A Johns Hopkins professor conducted a study in 1912 that showed that midwives were actually more competent than most American doctors. It was found that the doctors were worse at preventing infant blindness and uterine sepsis, and way too eager to use surgical techniques that endangered both the mother and the baby.
I've heard that statistic or that story about the hand washing before, and it's always stuck with me because I'm just like, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah, right.
And it was something that midwives and women had been doing for so long. It's like, it's just, I wash my hands before I go from this patient to the other. Whereas the surgeons were just pottering about going from a corpse to like a brand new mother and
that's so disgusting.
Touching her and the baby. Like, what the fuck? Like, obviously we have the benefit of living now and knowing what we know about diseases and contagions and all of that. So obviously I'm not saying that we would have known better at the time, but some people did know better at the time.
Yeah. Under intense pressure from the medical profession, state after state passed laws outlawing midwifery and restricting the practice of obstetrics to doctors. For poor and working-class women, this actually meant worse or no obstetrical care. For instance, a study of infant mortality rates in Washington showed an increase in infant mortality in the years immediately following the passage of the law forbidding midwifery. For the new male medical profession, the ban on midwives meant one less source of competition. Women had been routed from their last foothold as independent practitioners. Which is so aggravating. It's like they just wanted a way to make money, so they got rid of people who were actually doing better things for others than they were.
Not only was it a way to get one up on the women who they didn't want showing them up, basically. They didn't want the women to be doing something that they themselves couldn't do, but it also had real life effects in the infant mortality rates. Like, that is crazy.
And the women who were birthing these children.
Yeah.
Like, it's so scary because after you have a baby, you have like these regular checkups, and they're like, when you're in the hospital, everybody who's had a baby in a hospital is like familiar with how often the nurses are coming in and like checking your blood pressure, and they're like checking your legs to see if you have blood clots in your legs, and they're doing all these different assessments on you because of like the super high mortality rate in a mother, like immediately in the hours following, but also the first 6 weeks are pretty dangerous, and then the first year is still dangerous, which is so crazy.
Yeah.
And these people were just like, no, it's better for me to be making money than somebody who's going to be like looking out for these people.
So the capitalism and the egos involved.
And the penises.
And the penises. Ego, penis, same thing.
Our husbands leave us after this episode. In Scotland, from 1563 until 1736, the Scottish Witchcraft Act was in place. This meant that being a witch or practicing witchcraft was punishable by law. In this time frame, around 4,000 people were accused of witchcraft. If one were to be found guilty, they would be strangled and burned at the stake. Which you covered a little bit of like the Scottish witch trials previously on this podcast. But
Episode
in the survey,
32.
I'm glad you had that on hand.
I only remember because I was resharing it like this week.
Oh,
Because of the witch's tartan that was released.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I was just like, now I want to wear it all the time. In the survey of Scottish witchcraft, it was found that 142 individuals were identified as folk healers or midwives, as well as being accused of being witches. Out of the 142, 85% were women, 51% found guilty, and 90% were executed. And it was discovered that 98% of them were folk healers, with at least 10 of them identifying as midwives. There is not much known about the 142 individuals, but the records of their accusations highlight factors as to why these people were accused of witchcraft. Some did not conform to social norms, such as children born outside of marriage. Many of the midwives and folk healers at the time would accept money as payment for their services, but when they did not receive the money and confronted the person who owed them, the person would turn on the midwife or healer and accuse them of witchcraft. Being a midwife or healer was a risky profession when it came to accusations of witchcraft, because at the time, things were more likely to go wrong regardless of the midwife or healer's actions. If a woman were to have a stillbirth, or if someone were to get an infection following wound treatment, it was easy to point the finger back at the midwife or healer.
Yeah, of course it was. Like, you know that quote that's doing the rounds now that's like, everything's a conspiracy when you don't know how it works? But it's so true. Like, people who are like, oh, have you noticed that, like, the planes are blah, blah, blah? And they're like, yeah, you don't know how air travel works. That's why you think it's a big conspiracy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, these people...
Or like the flat earthers.
These people are so obviously uneducated in so many aspects of like women's bodies and childbirth and all of that. So they think that it must be a conspiracy, that the midwives are evil when something goes wrong, when it's probably a probably heartbreakingly easily explained thing.
Right.
But
it's something that just happened, unfortunately.
Yeah. But they think it must have to be intentional on the part of the midwife, because this is somebody who has all this knowledge that they don't have access to. So they don't like that they have to put their trust into this person who knows more than they do.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy if you don't know how it works.
And you don't understand that, like, sometimes things just happen. And I feel like there's so many people who want there to be a reason for something. It's like, oh, well, this happened for a reason. It's like, a lot of the times things just happen. There's not a reason behind it. Quote, those we studied were frequently accused of failed healing when nothing could be done to prevent a patient's death or disability. Yet, when they successfully helped someone, they could still be accused of maleficium, as it was said that they had transferred illness or pains onto someone else. Folk healers and midwives were also at risk of being perceived as engaging in demonic activity. 35% of those studied had a demonic element within their witchcraft accusations, compared with the 18% of those named on the SSW overall. This figure is unsurprising given that the conditions which cause hallucinations and or uncontrolled movements, such as an infection-related confusion or seizures, could be perceived as being caused by the folk healer or midwife's demonic activity. Additionally, folk healers and midwives who successfully helped others had their successes attributed not to their expertise, but from having devilish help or supernatural assistance.
Are you kidding me? So that is like the definition of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Like, literally damned. Literally damned.
You are actually damned this time.
Yeah. So it's like, if something went wrong, it was their fault. If something went right, they did something evil by making somebody else sick.
Right.
It was all because they were in league with the devil.
Yeah.
And then if something went right, the devil got the credit.
Yeah, if they did something right, it still was because of the devil.
It couldn't possibly be because of their experience and their knowledge.
Right.
Oh my God.
And you could not win. That just really sucks when you're somebody who's trying to help people. You're like, I'm just trying to do good in this world and help people in my community who are sick, who are giving birth, who are, whatever, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, well, you're working with the devil. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was trying to do something for somebody else.
Can we change the quote to, it's not because of the devil if you don't understand how it works?
We put that on ours as like a meme on our social media. That is the big, heavy stuff about midwifery that I was covering. And then I wanted to talk about 2 goddesses of midwifery.
Sweet. I like when we get into the goddesses.
Yeah, it's just a little bit about them, but just like a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So there is Ishel, which is the Mayan goddess of the moon, fertility, childbirth, and women's work, such as weaving. She gave blessings for safe pregnancies and deliveries. She controlled lunar cycles and menstrual cycles and was associated with healing. She's often portrayed with a rabbit next to her.
Oh, the fertility. The rabbit's coming back again. It's very
rabbit.
timely for this time of year.
It is.
Yeah.
I was going to say Easter, and then it's like, wait.
I mean, part of me is like, Ishel, you're amazing. But also, I'm going to be cursing you when I'm like writhing around with cramps. Like, damn it, Ishel! Ishel!
Ewan's like, what? What are you talking about? Who are you yelling? And then we have Aletheia, the Greek goddess of childbirth and midwifery, daughter of Zeus and Hera. In the Orphic hymn, Artemis is given the title that would suggest she was related to Aletheia, making Artemis, quote, she who comes to the aid of women in childbirth. And then I have a quote here. It's a hymn.
Sing it.
When racked with labor pains.
I love that you immediately went Nadia.
I mean the hair.
Yeah.
When racked with labor pangs and sore distressed, the sex invoke thee as the soul's sure rest. For thou, Aletheia, alone canst give relief to pain, which art attempts to ease, but tries in vain. Artemis, Aletheia, vulnerable power, who bringest relief in labor's dreadful hour. Orphic Hymn 2 to Protheria, as translated by Thomas Taylor, 1792. I want to end the episode with a quote that I feel would ring true to women helping other women through scary and transitional times in their lives, in which there is literally blood, sweat, and tears. The quote is from Sam George Allen, and it is, if you tell me I'm just my flesh and blood, then I will make magic out of it.
Oh, goosebumps.
Yeah, it's so good. I was like,
that's so good. Love that.
Snaps for midwives, no snaps for the church.
Yeah. To think that the nuns were taking over at one point from midwives is even scarier. We'll get to that eventually. The nuns.
We'll touch
We
on
got
the
beef
nuns.
with you. You old hoors. I was telling Emily about the Magdalene laundries the other day, and then I got myself all annoyed again. So
isn't that funny? It was like I wanted to do this episode, and then as I'm researching, I'm like, I'm just fucking mad again.
yeah, I like. You would nearly think that we're doing it as a catharsis. Like we'll feel better once we have it all out. No, we're just annoyed. We're just annoyed and informed.
I guess that's a better kind of annoyed, because if you're
we can
not
back it up.
informed, yeah, it's not like a flat Earth situation.
So much of that is just like there's stuff that like has trickled to me over the years, like, you know, about the hand washing and the chainsaws and the all of that sort of stuff. But to see like the systemic, absolute like suppression of midwifery as a science and as a profession.
Yeah.
It's just it's a wonder that like there were babies being born at all, you know?
Right. Well, and in the United States, it was illegal for a long time. It was, I think, in the 80s, it came back to being legal again and became like a profession. You can now be like a midwife. You can go to school to be a midwife and get certified and all that stuff.
Even from a laboring mother perspective, like, can you imagine going in to deliver your baby and it's some dude in a white coat, probably smoking at the time, to help you deliver your baby? Like,
he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth while he's got his hands in your crotch.
Yeah. And you're supposed to favor him over somebody who looks probably like your mother or your grandmother.
And she's washed her hands.
Yeah. She's washed her hands and her ass.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And like you're supposed to have more faith in the man.
Yeah.
Because they tell you that, there's no way a woman could know more about women giving birth.
Yeah.
Even though she's done it 6 times probably.
Honestly, something that surprised me when I gave birth to both my children is like the doctor's there and the doctor is, you know, kind of like, okay, I'm here ready to catch the football. But the nurses were the ones who were calling way more of the shots, helping way more, doing, like, holding my leg, helping me push. Like, the nurse this last time, she's like, how about let's try, like, this position. Let's put your legs like this. Like, let's, you know. They were the ones who were, like, watching the monitor. Okay, like, you got a contraction coming. Let us know, like, when you feel this. And then they were the ones who were doing most of the work.
Yeah.
And the doctors are just kind of like, oh, okay. And the second, my doctor with my daughter was female, and then the doctor with my son was male. And so it wasn't like they were both male doctors who were just like, yeah, you women get to work. But it's just wild to me. I'm like, they're paid less, and they're the ones who are working way harder.
They probably, like, if you were to account for minute to minute, they probably spend more time with laboring women.
Oh, yeah.
Like, actually in the room with them, talking to them, checking in with them. Whereas doctors, I would assume, have to go around, like, multiple patients and, you know.
Yeah. And they're kind of, like, just chilling at a desk, I'm pretty sure. I don't know this for a fact. This is speculation.
We're going to have some doctor writing in going, excuse you.
Yeah. But it was kind of like the nurses would check me for, like, cervical dilation. And then they basically would, like, let the doctor know. They're like, oh, she's at 7. She's at 9. She's at whatever. And then the doctor's like, oh, okay, you ready? And it's like, all of a sudden they come trotting in after the women have been with me all day, getting me, like, my bodily fluids on their shoes and stuff like that. It's just like, but you come in and take the glory. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in that aspect, probably a whole lot has not changed, you know?
Right. I don't think much has changed. And like I had touched on in this episode is that women then ended up kind of getting into the medical field, but they were only seen as helpers, and those helpers were nurses. And it's like still that way. A majority of doctors are men and a majority of nurses are women, and they're still viewed as the helpers, even though they're like pulling so much of the weight.
Yeah. And like it's a bias that like even we would have grown up with. Like if you see somebody working in a hospital, your first thought is if it's a man, you assume that it's a doctor, and if it's a woman, you probably assume it's a nurse, like for even a split second when you first meet them.
There's that that thing. It's like a riddle, I think.
Yeah, or is it like about a personality test or something?
No, where it says it's something about a teenage boy and his father are in a car accident and they go to the hospital and the teenager needs life-saving surgery, and the doctor says, I can't operate on this child, it's my son. And it's like, but how can that be if the dad was also in the accident? And it's like the doctor is a woman, and then people are like,
is his mother.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still like, and I'm sure like people who work in these professions could tell us a lot more of, like, you know, especially a generation back, assumptions that are made or things that have been said to them or whatever it is. And I know some male nurses, and I know them by their temperament and their personality, and I just know by them that they are amazing nurses. Like, they're just so suited to that profession. Like, it's like, could not have picked a better profession, you know? So it's...
But when I see a male nurse, I'm like, oh, you're probably not going to do a very good job.
And that is how Emily is a misandrist. And
fight me.
No, I know, but like it is something that like you sort of internalize, and you sort of just think like caregiver, woman, female profession, nursing, you know.
Yeah, so that was my episode on midwifery and how it got involved in witchcraft, or witchcraft got involved in midwifery. I don't even know how you'd phrase it, but basically the church, men.
The church, capital T, capital C.
All the Rowan and Pine enemies.
Yeah, church, men, capitalism, Protestants. That was amazing. It was such a good episode. I can tell you put so much work and research into that.
I did, and I really wanted to. I was like, I want this to be, like, very good. I want it to be solid.
I know from looking at your notes that you probably had, like, way more that you wanted to put in too, but you're just like, oh my god, I can't just quote this entire book.
Basically, I kept flagging stuff and being like, put this in, put this in, put this in, and then I was like, I have to reel it in because this episode can't be hours long.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. Please drop a comment. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can always contact us in any of the links in our link tree, which is in the description of every episode. We're really happy to be back for season 3. Keep an eye out for your bonus episode this month. This has been episode 2 of season 3, Midwifery and Witches by Emily. I have been Neve.
And I'm Emily.
And fuck yeah, feminist folklore.
Fuck yeah, feminist folklore. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. A perturbator.
Perturbator.
Oh no.
That's
okay.
definitely going to be the bit. You know the way I always pick like one of our bloopers to go after
You always
the closing
pick
credits?
you don't do your bloopers. You always do like my stupid voice.
Well, you're so much funnier than me.
I'm not funny. You're funny. I just sound stupider.
I can't tell you how often I hear, oh, I'm a little OCD. I like things neat. That's not OCD. I'm Howie Mandel, and I know this because I have OCD. Actual OCD causes relentless, unwanted thoughts. What if I did something terrible and forgot? What if I'm a bad person? Why am I thinking this terrible thing? It makes you question absolutely everything, and you'll do anything to feel better. OCD is debilitating, but it's also highly treatable with the right kind of therapy. Regular talk therapy doesn't cut it. OCD needs specialized therapy. That's why I want to tell you about NoCD. NoCD is the world's largest virtual therapy provider for OCD. Their licensed therapists provide specialized therapy virtually, and it's covered by insurance for over 155 million Americans. If you think you might be struggling with OCD, visit nocd.com to schedule a free 15-minute call and learn more. That's nocd.com.
I don't know about you, but the number one thing I look forward to when I return from traveling is a good night's sleep in my own bed. That has never been more true than it is now that I have a Sleep Number smart bed. I get so sore after traveling on planes, but after literally one night in my Sleep Number smart bed, my body feels restored, rested, and relaxed. The fact that my bed actually listens to my body and adjusts to my needs to keep me sleeping soundly all the way through the night is worth it alone. Not to mention, my husband and I never need to argue over firmness because we can each dial in our own Sleep Number setting. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now, for a limited time, Sleep Number smart beds start at $849. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
This is Paige, the co-host of Giggly Squad. I use Uber Eats for everything, and I feel like people forget that you can truly order anything, especially living in New York City. It's why I love it. You can get Chinese food at any time of night, but it's not just for food. I order from CVS all the time. I'm always ordering from the grocery store. If a friend stops over, I have to order champagne. I also have this thing that whenever I travel, if I'm ever in a hotel room, I never feel like I'm missing something because I'll just Uber Eats it. The amount of times I've had to Uber Eats hair items like hairspray, deodorant, you name it, I've ordered it on Uber Eats. You can get grocery, alcohol, everyday essentials in addition to restaurants and food you love. So in other words, get almost anything with Uber Eats. Order now. For alcohol, you must be legal drinking age. Please enjoy responsibly. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.